and welcome to The World Transformed. Tonight we're doing an update, part 2, on our Elonscapades show. More news from the world of Elon Musk. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and with me in the virtual studio is my co-host, Stephen Gordon. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Phil. How are you?
Well, I am super fantastic. How are you, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great. Glad to be podcasting with you again. It's been just a little while, and glad to be back. So,
yeah, well, we're gonna get our stride back here pretty soon. I have a feeling we're getting closer and closer. But this is fun. We did a show that just aired about Elon Musk, and we had actually recorded it a while back. And at the time we recorded it, he still had his job, his full job.
Right.
And now that situation has changed, and there were some other Elon developments that occurred in the meantime. So even though we closed the previous show by saying, hopefully we don't have another Elon show to do until Christmas, sadly, it's the next show. It's just the next show we've done, and it's more Elon news. So.
There are actual entire podcasts devoted entirely to this man's life. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised that there's a lot more to talk about. But let's do it.
It's okay if we do two back to back, then, for sure.
Yeah,
right.
It's just fine.
Yeah, okay, so here we go. Here's the big story. SEC has Musk step down and fines Tesla $20 million. So this is a follow-up to his rather badly timed, badly phrased, and ill-thought-out tweets about taking Tesla private that the SEC then investigated, and they basically came back and said, okay, Tesla, you owe $20 million for your chicanery, and I guess one of the conditions they laid on them, or just something that Tesla decided to do, was that he could no longer be chairman.
Right.
I think maybe the SEC announced that he could no longer be chairman. So pretty harsh outcome on the one hand, but he's still CEO, and he's still very much in the driver's seat and still very much a part of what happens at Tesla. So on balance, obviously $20 million, where I come from, is considered a fairly substantial amount of money.
Right.
So that's not great. But
and it's already a company that's having some trouble, as most people are aware. So yeah, it's not a good time to have to come up with a big amount of money like that. But I still have hopes for Tesla. I really do. So
yeah. Well, obviously the SEC doesn't want to lay something so big on a company that it puts them out of business. That's not their goal in putting a fine down. Actually, it'd be interesting to just do a whole discussion about what does it mean when the SEC lays a big fine on a company like this, right? Especially one that's already struggling. But obviously it's to be a deterrent to other companies, right? Watch what you say.
It just comes down to this. If you're running a public company, you just can't say anything you want to. You just can't pop off with whatever you want to say. It's you just can't do that. So, at any rate, they made that move, and my thought on this, I've got a couple of thoughts on this. I think this may be like a gift to Elon in some ways. Okay, now, if there's ever a person in the world that needs to pare down some of the things he's doing in life and focus a little bit more intently on fewer things, maybe it's Elon. It's just he's got SpaceX, he's got Tesla, he's got a myriad of other projects as well. Maybe just taking that chairman duty off of him might help him a little bit. I don't know. Certainly. Richard Branson thought so. That you need to look after your health, he said to Elon, and I realize that they're kind of competitors in a way, but I think he may have actually meant that sincerely. You need to take care of yourself, because I mentioned in the last show, Phil, that I thought that he's that bit with the smoking pot and drinking whiskey on that show was not the right image. It was the wrong visuals. I think he needs to just kind of chill a little bit, and he can't do that if he's got all these duties on him at the same time. So maybe just a little bit off of him might be a good thing. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think that's probably true. Certainly it's better than in any of the alternatives. There was no alternative where nothing was going to happen. Right. Once you're in the crosshairs of the federal government like that, something is going to happen to you. And he did get to essentially keep his job, his real job, which is CEO of Tesla. And, he hasn't lost SpaceX. He hasn't lost anything else. So really, I would recommend this story here on NBC News. Did Elon Musk dodge a bullet? It all depends on what he does next. I think that's really critical. He needs to take this warning for what it is and get his act together.
Right.
You know, we tried to warn him on the podcast. But.
Yeah, true. We kind of did. But I'm going to just tell you that this is sort of another object example of how social media just is a minefield. You know, you just you just got to be careful. You know, whether you're the chairman of an auto company and that's public, and you're talking about, you know, just firing off tweets about it, or the president of the United States or whatever. You know, you just need to be careful what you tweet. And you know, I would just what's the upside? When is anyone, you know, I guess there are people that have done well for themselves using Twitter, but there's a whole lot of people that have damaged themselves. So
yes.
Anyway,
I think there is a real lesson there. Yeah, you're right, for all executives everywhere.
Yeah.
In some ways, I wonder if we wouldn't just be better off if there was no Twitter. There, I went and said it. I went and said a terrible thing. But if you did a cost-benefit, if you did all the good it's brought versus all the harm it's done, it has done some wonderful things. It has helped out in crisis situations and some of those kinds of things. It's given a voice to people who didn't have one, and it's been amusing in times. So there are a lot of good things Twitter has done, but it's enabling people to self-destruct tendency seems to be a really pronounced thing about Twitter.
Well, you know, doing it all within 26 characters, right? It's 26, right? What that encourages you to do.
It's more than 26 characters. I think they've upped it, right?
You know, I don't even know. But what the short character count that is allowed, it in some ways almost encourages you to shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
It was one thing when you and I were, you know, blogging, and we'd put up a blog post that, you know, I'd spend 15, 20 minutes on a smallish blog post, right? You can fire off a tweet in 15 seconds. I mean, you just boom, done. And in 15 seconds, you may have done yourself some real harm. And which is what appeared to happen here to Mr. Musk.
Just for those listening who feel they need to get in touch with us, it's 280 characters. It used to be 140, now it's 280.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. 26 would be just like a couple of words.
My apologies. My apologies. But anyway,
a person would have actually a pretty hard time getting themselves in too much trouble.
Yeah, that's right. You couldn't say anything in that. In 26
yeah, you'd really have.
My apologies. Yeah.
You'd have to go all out. Well, I think that the Richard Branson idea is a good one. Get some sleep. He needs to get off that sleep medication that he takes, though. I think that probably hasn't been helping him too much. And, buckle down. Focus on the business. Focus on the stuff that you can make happen. By all means, stay off social media. And then there's this story, right? And this one I don't feel was even the least bit timed, or, you know, we talked about the moon story last time out, where that probably came about in part as a response to everything else that was happening to him. I don't think this one is. Elon Musk keeps his promise, donates $480,000 to give every school in Flint, Michigan, a clean water system. So this was over on Good News Network. Actually, I think we're linking it here from NBC News. And just a wonderful thing he's done. Just a wonderful humanitarian thing. Everyone's been talking about how terrible it is that the water situation is what it is in Flint, and nobody's doing anything about it. Now Elon Musk steps in and he does something about it. I think it says something. You can be as cynical as you want and say he's just protecting himself, he's just a showboat, he's just grandstanding, whatever. You say whatever you want. Those kids are all getting clean water now, right?
That's right.
That's the bottom
line.
Right.
Yeah. And there are cynics that are going to say things like that. You know, I mean, even terrorist groups like to have, like to do charitable works, right? To throw everybody off as to what they really are. You know, running hospitals and things. But whatever, I mean, seriously, that happens. But I see this as just an absolute good, and I would not for one second criticize Elon Musk over that move. And I mean, now you know, the whole city needs some help, right? I mean, it's great that he's that the schools are getting their water system cleaned up, but those kids still have to go home, and the rest of the city as well. So what can be? We ought to do a show sometime, Phil, about what it would take to clean up a water system like that. I mean, just an infrastructure show sometime.
Yeah, it's a huge job, and somebody's going to have to take that on. And by somebody, I mean probably the government.
Probably,
going to have to clean that up. But it's great that a first step has been taken here, and a really important one, and that Elon has taken it. So
right.
I think that says just about everything we need to about Elon Musk. I'm glad we did a part 2, though. I feel like the story wasn't finished. And you know what I feel like? I feel like it's not finished now either. But
yeah, I have a prediction. We will do another show before Christmas, Phil. I know that that's our thing. We'll do every once a quarter we have a Elon Musk show. No, it's probably more like once a month. So,
yeah, it's getting more like monthly at this point. So we'll be back. We'll talk more about what's happening with Elon Musk. But our next show is our 799th show. So we're gonna do some amazing topics on that, and then we got the 800th show coming up. So neither one of those are going to be primarily about Elon Musk. Great talking with you. And until next time, live to see it.